It's this really cool feeling that you can just switch off and you feel like you can stay there forever. There's no rush to be anywhere. It feels like time just slips away a bit. For a deep dive, it really starts at the surface. So while I'm preparing, I'm laying on my back, just shutting everything out, just breathing as normally as I can. I'm just focusing on relaxing my body as much as possible. And then when it becomes time to dive, I relax my body, take a real deep breath, roll over and face into the deep water, and away I go.
My first experience going into drains was, I knew of this local drain that was not far away from where I lived. And I went inside, and when I came through the other end of this tunnel, I looked back and I could see all the light shining through all the cracks. And it looked like a vortex or a time machine. I'm obsessed with finding every drain in Sydney. Absolutely obsessed with it. It's a wonderful hobby. It doesn't cost me any money, and yeah, it's a wonderful thing to do.
So the most important thing about an ice bath is not to think. So when we are going into an ice bath, imagine getting out of your head and just into your body. If we start thinking, it will be painful. To me, the Wim Hof Method is a tool to deal with stress, to deal with anything that life can throw at me. So breathwork and ice bath, they are a little bit different, but they are both pushing our body to this controlled stress. So the first time I did the breath work, I could feel the buzzing in my head. And for the first time in maybe 2 years, I felt good.
Now, as I begin to go down, it's almost like you're fighting the water. It's trying to push you back up as you're trying to push back down. And it's a weird sort of balancing act as the buoyancy is trying to lift you back to the surface. But after a while, it gets less and less as the water starts to get heavier above you, starts compressing your body, and eventually you can start to free fall and just let go.
Sometimes we can think too much. And when we think too much, we inhibit our own instincts. The drains really help bring out my instincts. And riding a push bike really helps bring out my instincts. Once you're in the zone, your brain works a lot faster. So sometimes we need to stop thinking so our instincts can work more efficiently.
So during breath work, the idea is not to think, just to be curious like a child. Feel your body, get out of your head, and just follow the breath. And getting out of the head, it's pretty much the most challenging thing for most people.
So usually around, let's say, 20, 30 meters, I start to get this little thought in my head saying, oh, what are we doing? You sure you want to be doing this? It's getting pretty far down. I'd like to say that voice goes away, but it's always there. Eventually it gets quieter and quieter and quieter, and you just drift off into almost a form of meditation.
So we're getting in straight away without thinking, and just breathe nice and gently. And what it does, it actually stimulates the vagus nerve, which in turn slows down our heartbeat, making us more relaxed. And when we are relaxed, we can pretty much do anything.
And as I keep free falling down, the water pressure gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And as my body gets more relaxed, you just keep falling faster and faster. What it actually does is, as we immerse ourselves in the water, our heart rate begins to slow really rapidly. My heart rate will drop down to a quarter of what my resting heart rate is. Now, what also happens as the water pressure increases, the air in my chest, and the volume reduces down, all the blood's rushing from my arms and my legs. It's pretty much all my peripheral arteries constricting, and this blood pulls around my core. It helps protect my body from collapsing in.
And what does cold exposure do? It actually trains our veins. And when we get into the ice, the veins are opening and closing. What it does, it actually closes the blood supply to our less essential parts of our body and sends it to the core to protect the internal organs. But this is just how our body works. It's there to protect us, to make us safe and to survive.
I get a bit of an intense thrill out of riding my push bike through the drains. Because it's, riding a push bike in a drain it's a dangerous thing to do, and that's why I enjoy it. Adrenaline is a wonderful thing. Works a lot better than coffee. Adrenaline is a natural drug, and natural drugs are always good.
So when you first get in, you may feel, obviously, you are cold because it's an ice bath, but we are able to adapt. This is the amazing ability of our body, that we can adapt to anything. And a little bit of controlled stress like an ice bath has amazing benefits.
Being underwater, it's one of those things that we have this ability to dive. Are we supposed to be there? I think we're more just meant to be a visitor. It's one of those things, we're going into an environment where it can be incredibly hostile at times, but it can also be something incredibly amazing.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and not everybody will agree with me, is that the natural resources of a place belong to the citizens of the country. I've got every right to be, in places that belong to the citizens of the country, because the law is just a guide to good behaviour. You can't take it all literally all the time. I had some people abuse me today for riding my push bike on the footpath. And, I take safety very seriously.
So for most people, they don't like the cold, they don't like to be uncomfortable. What happens when it gets too hot? We put the aircon on. When it gets too cold, we put heater on. And our body does not adapt to different temperatures. And our bodies were made to adapt. And this is how we grow, by exposing ourselves to being to the environment.
What is also probably my favourite thing is when you get so deep that you can't see the surface anymore. Everything is the same shade of blue, and there's no visual reference. There's just the little rope that you followed going down. That's your only reference back to the surface. It's just you sitting still in the water, no weight on the body or anything like that. It's just really, really quiet. All you can hear is just what's going on internally.
Every drain has a water feature. And just, just that calmness and the water running down and the light shining in. It's a bit like a temple, and it's my own place too. I don't have to share it with anyone else. Yeah, I got a lot of comfort out of it. Yeah, just the quietness and the solitude, and aesthetically pleasing as well sometimes. There's somewhere to go where you can be alone and think about things.